After giving it a lot of thought, I decided I was not going to use the PVC piping for the structure of the garden railway. It just seemed overly complicated and very expensive. And I happened to just get an idea one day, and I did a test. I ordered some samples from eBay, and I think it's going to work out great. And what I did is I got this. It's a stake for rabbit fencing, and it's 1 foot from here to here, and this goes into the ground up to there. The rest of it, the 2 feet, sticks above ground. Now, I don't care about the tabs on here for attaching fencing because I'm not going to put any fencing on there. What I did is I got a bunch of brackets, just regular L brackets, and I got some bolts, stainless steel bolts, and bolted this onto here. And this at the top has the holes in it, and it's amazing that the holes on the brackets match up perfectly with the holes on the stake, so that makes it really easy. And these, when I put the composite decking on top of this, it'll just screw in from the bottom, and there you go. I've got my garden railway posts. Now, for the corners and the curves, I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do that. Because I figured out how to bend Trex. It's really interesting. You have to heat it, like under a heating pad, any type of composite decking. And once it's hot, it becomes like putty, and you can actually reform it to any shape you want. And then you let it cool and it dries in that shape. So theoretically, I could just put these in a circle for the big 9-foot circle and then the one for the little 3-foot circle. But I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I built wooden trestles to hold those instead of using these? So it would look visually very interesting, but it would be a little more complicated to build. But it would look neat. So I'm toying with that idea. So we'll see as I progress. The next step is to simply get these pounded into the ground and level them all out so that I have at 2-foot intervals all these posts going along the entire route up to the turns, and then I'll figure out what I'm going to do with the turns later. I'm doing a test fit of the track, and I'm really glad I'm doing that. I'm basically building a long route around our entire basement just to see how well the power holds up and to see how well the train runs on a long route. So I started it back in my little model railroad room here, and I discovered something very important that I didn't realize. It's probably very obvious to anyone who's worked with model railroads for quite a while, but it was not obvious to me until I started putting this test track together. The track I got from Menards, and which, by the way, I read online some people talking about it, and it's true. These pins that are in here, these are not always tight. You gotta use pliers to squeeze these sometimes, squeeze the track to tighten them up a bit because the pins are sometimes loose, which is not good for electrical conductivity. But at any rate, notice you have pins on one side and not on the other, which means this track only goes together in a clockwise fashion to make a curve. You can't go back the other way. So if I wanted to suddenly curve this to the left and have it go counterclockwise, there's no way to do that because there are no pins on that side. So what I discovered is when I was doing a test over here to have it curve back this way to come around the other side of the room, you end up with no pins on either side. And you need to get yourself a set of pins. And yes, they sell the pins. I got them on eBay. You can get get them by the 100 if you want. For now, what I'm going to do while I'm waiting for them to arrive is I can simply yank these out of a piece of track I'm not using, because these just pop right out, and then put them in there and then join them together. So you do need spare pins when you're putting these things together. I never realized that, and now I do. So now I'll continue putting this together and see how the train runs. Okay, now here I have to curve along this way counterclockwise, and I've run into the opposite problem. Notice this one has pins in it, and this one has pins in it. I can't make the turn. So what I need to do is I need to pull all those pins out, put them on this side, and I'm going to have to do that from now on for the curves when I come around this way. Because the curves only want to go in a clockwise direction, not a counterclockwise direction. So off we go with the pliers. The engine is back on the workbench, because what I found when I tried to run it on the track is that the front guide truck here was floating above the track, and it was starting to twist, and it was shorting everything out. So what I did is I had to drill out the original post that was there, and instead I put a stainless steel bolt through it with stainless steel nuts and some washers, and I put a heavier duty spring, and I made it a little longer, and that way that's snapping nice and tight on the ground there, so that is not going to come off the track. So now that that little repair is done, I also put some more mineral oil in here, so we'll see if the smoker is still going to work nice and strong, and then we'll give it a shot. So one of the joys of where we live is that we're living on top of a gravel pit, and so you constantly are hitting stones when you're digging. So driving these things in is going to be hit or miss for a while until I can figure out where all the stones are. I could dig everything out and then refill it with soil, and well, I have to wait for about a year for it to compact, but I'm just going to try to get around the stones, hoping the steel will displace whatever stones are there. We'll see. Excuse me. All right. So that's coming out of the station, coming around the corner. Now to head all the way down that way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure to the end, and I'm going to drive a stake, and I'm going to simply take a string. Well, the string, that'll give me a straight shot. I decided I'm not going to go around the corner of the tree trunks. I'm just going to go straight by them and head right on through, which will make my job a lot easier. I'll certainly have a lot of curved track left over at the end of this. Well, something else I didn't take into account is that this tree here sits further back than that tree over there. So when I pull the line straight, it's either too close to that or too far away from that. So I could, in theory, go around this tree, then pull back and go straight across here. So I'd only have one loop to make there. And that might be a better idea, because if I go right here, I'm going to be way far out from the back over there, which is where I want it to be. So I think that's the plan I'm going to make, since I planned to come around that tree anyway. I'm just going to pull this a little tighter. Now, one problem is the tree way in the distance over there. That one is also a little too close. Now, I could pull the post back, but then that's getting a little too close over there. So let me think this out and see what I'm going to do. All right, so the string is down. The stake over there is level, and I checked it with my little level on the string, and that seems to be level as well, although who knows. How, you may ask, did I determine where to place that other stake? I just banged it in, because I only have a 30-foot tape measure, and I figured if I try to do it with the tape measure, I'm going to end up off anyway, so I just took a guess, and it's not really going to matter that much, because if I'm a little closer, just a little bit too far away with the stakes, it's not really going to make that huge a difference. So the next thing would be over here. I'm going to start, and I have this post. It is exactly 2 feet. And all I do is I go over 2 feet from this. I've already dug a hole there, and then I bang it in every 2 feet. I put another post following the rope string all the way down, and that will probably be it for today. Maybe this year. Let's go. All right, so behind the shed is done, and what I'm finding is that because of all the rocks in the ground, when I drive the post in, it twists as it goes down, and it's hard to try to keep it straight, so I'm trying to minimize that. That can be a problem. I'm more concerned about the twisting than I am about it leaning a little bit forward or back, because that I can adjust. The twisting I can't do anything about. So hopefully I'll continue here. Now I've got to get by this tree here and then move on to that one. Something else I didn't take into account is that the land slopes into a bowl right there. So the brackets for the post don't go all the way into the ground. I guess I'll cover them with dirt. All right. The straight run is done. And these, as you can see, are a little off. Mainly because that decoration there, little trellis, was holding them out. But I'm not too worried about that because it got too close to this tree for comfort. So I moved them out a little bit and I'm bringing them slowly back in. And I was able to completely bypass this tree. Now, one of the problems having stumps and rocks is sometimes I can't bang it in at 2 feet. So like this one is about 4 feet, and I'm gonna have to live with that because there's no way with all the stumps and the roots underground I could get anything banged in closer than that. So that's an issue, but I think that's gonna be okay. And if not, I can always just attach a bracket, a big bracket, to the side of the tree and have it come out and put the trestle, I could make a trestle there actually, but put the bracket on the tree and have the track go across the bracket there. So that's not a big deal. And again, some of these I couldn't get all the way in because of rocks and roots, but I think I'll be able to work with it. Like this one here would not go in any deeper, but boy, bugs came out in force today. Beautiful weather. All right, so there we have it. The straight run out is done, and this is probably going to be it. I'm going to put the brackets on, but this is probably going to be it for this season, because what I need to do is I'm going to have to hire a landscaping company to come in and clean all this up back here. It's beyond me. It's just too much and it keeps coming up too fast. So I'll have all that cleaned up by a landscaping company. Then I can do the big 9-foot circle there. And then that will be basically it. I'll just have to do the little circle over here. And again, not sure if I'm going to do that with trestles or whether I'm going to do that with these posts, because I have plenty of posts to do it with. And I might try that first to see how that works out. So there we have it. The structure is beginning.